quick, and then we'll play a little bit, and then we'll get going, call it a day. So you got a 20-minute AMRAP of your 25-foot overhead walking lunge, pretty 95, 65 pounds. You got your 8 bar facing burpees, your 25-foot overhead walking lunge again, and then your 8 chest to bar pull-ups. I feel like, again, if the mark is 10, pretty moderate pace, this is still 80 burpees and 80 pull-ups. So we all know that this starts to take a lot of time. 80 chest to bar pull-ups might not take some of you a lot of time. It might take others of us a lot of time. So we're going to start addressing that from the beginning. But outside of that, you guys saw in the video on the overhead lunge, there has to be very, very simple idea of being able to make it to the other side. Right? So you have to get to the other side unbroken, especially if we want to go ahead and make this thing happen and get nice scores for the teams. We're going to pick this bar up from the get-go. I highly recommend that we use perhaps a narrower grip, so clean, get it over your head, and get it going. I don't necessarily know if I would just snatch it. If you want to try a narrow grip snatch for your first round, but I just think that power clean to push jerk is quick. You get it going, you're already in your momentum, you hit your knee, you hit your foot, and you're walking. It looks like they're going to score every 5 feet, So at some point, intermediate kids, if you decide to start breaking it in half, same thing with you beginner guys from the beginning, I might break it in half. I would break it in half in 15 and 10. 15 and 10. I would also make sure that I break this one in half for you guys, you intermediate kids and you beginner. I break this in half going into the chest to bar pulls. I know you guys might think, oh, well, I'm going to need a little bit of rest going into my burpees, so I'm going to break it in half. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're just laying down, getting up, and jumping over the bar. So a couple things we do know about this bar-facing burpee. This might work, that little step, the step up might work. It's a slower burpee. I don't necessarily know it's going to matter much. It might help you in the beginning to stay a little bit more fluid. And then as you get tired, you can do kind of that scramble, step up, kind of look like you're dying, and then hop over the bar. But in the beginning, a little smoother might allow for you guys to keep your heart rate down. The other thing too with the bar facing burpee, we know that when we're real close, which is fine, you guys have to play with this today, we tend to do this one. And we're scared of the bar. So we load the shit out of our triceps. We got a long 5 weeks. 80 burpees won't fuck us. 140 probably would, but we did 90, and some of us with thrusters, and some of us didn't have triceps for about a month and a half, 2 months. So 6 months. So be very aware with your bar and your face of the bar. Okay, so we don't want to do that cobra when we're coming down. We don't want to overload that tricep. So that's key in the sense of, because of the overhead walking lunge, if your triceps are not exhausted, that overhead will be a little bit easier. The overhead would be a little bit easier. I do recommend wearing your wrist sleeves. I do recommend, if you guys are maybe going to have to do this workout twice, take care of those knees. So you're probably going to have to wear your knee sleeves because you're going to kiss them on the ground. This to me, the lunges can make your patella very tender, very tender. Even though this is a PT style exercise, it's going to make your knees very tender. So this is where the kicker is going to be if you try to do it again. Your ass being sore, your hands having problems, your chest being a little sore, it's going to be fine on Monday. But if your knees are tender, you're not going to want to move. So heads up on it. Any questions in the sense of how we're going to move through this? Again, my chest to bars, I'm going to go unbroken. I'm going to probably do 2 sets of 4, and we'll maybe do 4 sets of 2. My burpees. Anybody tell me what that is?
Keep moving, motherfucker.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Keep moving, motherfucker. And then overhead walking lunges, unbroken. I've never been a fan of the racking on your back and hoping for the best and getting it back over and getting moving again. If you want to prove me wrong, go ahead, but I would never recommend it. Never recommend it. I would just tell you to put it down. Most of the time when you're putting it on your back, you're giving your tricep a stretch. So in reality, it's kind of being flexed in an awkward way, but that's just not helping it. It's still working elongated. So it's not actually pushing, but it's still sitting there under load.
You know how when we did 14-5, we cheated a little bit because
I have to see if they're like very stringent about how they're approaching that bar when it drops. So perhaps, yeah, especially when you're coming up to it, we'll look at it. And then again, breaking it 15 feet and 10 feet. So doing the majority of it. Now when we start looking at the time splits, so 20 seconds is going to be one burpee every 2.5 seconds. This is moving. I think some of you guys can handle this. 30 seconds, it's one burpee every 375. And then this, I think, is something that is a pace that everybody can handle right out the gate with 5 seconds of burpee. And you won't lose this. I feel like if you start with this, you won't lose this. But you got to make sure you just stamp that same pace over and over again. This is 135 without transition. 135 without transition. With transition, you're sitting somewhere around 142, 145, somewhere in there, and basically what you saw today, a little under 12 rounds. But I feel like if you get out a little bit nicer, I feel like they got a little hot. They were even, I think they were like somewhere around that. Yeah, 118 for their first round. So they tried to handle this 15 rounds, and they ended up somewhere at barely at 11. So I mean, they didn't really bleed much. They bled 20 seconds. So if you're like me and you're okay with bleeding, then I would try to attack it and hold on and pause like a cat. If not, most of you guys are going to do better at trying to start off at that 130, 135 pace and then just stamp it. Cool. I would attack this whole workout like a 5K run. So if some of you guys don't like rowing, I apologize, but that's how I'm looking at it. We do a lot of 20-minute row pieces here, and I feel like that's an easy way to put your mind around it. Okay, we're putting it at a 2-minute pace. We're saying if I handle a 2-minute pace, I'm going to handle 10 rounds. That's pretty doable. It's pretty doable for a lot of us. And then if I start moving faster in my row, I start getting closer to that 18-minute 5K, which is going to get me closer to that 12 rounds, 13 rounds. So that's the mentality of how you're looking at your 5K piece too. When you think of your row, right? Your row, you start off pretty hot, you settle in, and then you hold. And then at the end you kick. So that's how I want you thinking about this workout. I want you guys to kind of start off at a manageable pace that you don't have a big drop off. That might be too much, but if you like that like I do, then it's fine. But if mentally that's hard on you, I would go more of this route. A little drop off, get that steady state going again, and then kick it up. Cool? Yeah. You can kick it.